So good morning everyone. So today I will present about my proposal entitled The Effectiveness of Using Pop-up Media for the Speaking Skill of MTS and Bulele students. So before I start, let me introduce myself. My name is Malinda Fitri, with the name is 1912021132. So for the first chapter is the introduction. So, as stated by Pramana et al. 2021, Indonesia's biggest challenge in terms of education is no longer increasing access, but improving quality, including the quality of the ability to use English. From this statement, it can be said that Indonesia needs to improve the quality of education, one of which is through more optimal teaching of English. So the government needs to pay attention to the quality of teaching English at every school level. So a teacher needs to pay attention to the most effective way of teaching the students. So for the teaching English for students, the teachers need to focus for skill. There are reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So speaking is an interactive process of constructing meaning, the processing, receiving, and processing information. So it means that the activity of two or more people who do some activities, including those who act as gifts and recipients of information, so that it can be stated that the interaction process occurs. So the function of speaking is to people communicate each other, to express their idea, their feelings, joke, and etc. And for students, speaking is a crucial part of the second language learning and teaching. It means students should be able to communication with the other to get or to share information and express what they feel. So speaking is one of four language skill, and speaking is the most important part of the language learning process. Strategy is using minimal responses. Teachers have to know that among our students who are learning, there are students who are embarrassed to speak, lack of confidence to practice, and they are often positioned themselves as listeners. So next. Please wait a minute. I think I have a problem with my connection. Okay, the next is a problem statement. So based on the explanation in the background above, so the researcher formulates the problem statement as follows. The first is how the effectiveness of using pop-up book media for students speaking skill of the 8th grade in MTS and Buleleng. And then the second one is what is the student's response about learning speaking through pop-up book media of the 8th grade in MTS and Buleleng. And then next, based on problem statement that I explained, the objective of the research as follow. The first is to find out the effectiveness of using pop-up books for speaking skill of 8th grade students of MTS and Buleleng. And then the second one is to know the students' response about learning speaking through pop-up book media of the 8th grade in the MTS and Buleleng. And then the next is the chapter 2, namely literature review. So in this chapter, I discuss is the first one is conceptual of speaking. So in this part, I will explain about definition of speaking, and then the component of speaking skill, and the last is characteristic of a successful speaking activity. And then the second one is the media. So in the media, I explain about definition, the function of media, and types of learning media. And then the last is pop-up book media. So in this part, I explain about a definition of pop-up book, and then the advantages and disadvantages of using pop-up book. And then the last is the steps of teaching speaking skill using pop-up book. And then next, so the last is methodology or chapter 3. So in this chapter, I will first explain about research designs. So this research is in the form of qualitative research. Qualitative research is used to gain an in-depth understanding of human behavior, experiences, attitude, intention, and motivations based on observation and interpretation to find out how people think and feel. So based on this statement, this research is research that will describe and gain an understanding of how the pop-up book learning media affects the speaking skill of junior high school students. So for the location of the research location is something that needs to be considered before actually researching. So before conducting the research, the researcher made direct observation with students who were in the school. So the location of this research is at MTSN Buleleng, which is one of the junior high school in Patas, Groga. So, and then next, the subject of the research. The subject of this research were second grade students of MTSN Buleleng, which consists of 30 students in one class. So researcher needs second grade to junior high school students because at that level, at least students have learned more English. And then next, the next is data collection. So in this part, the researcher uses several techniques to collect data to complete this research, including observation, interview, questionnaire, and documentation. So, and then next is the last is instrument of the research. So in conducting this research, the researcher uses several instruments to support the research. So based on the data collection technique described previously, the researcher choose several instruments to collect the data in the form of observation checklist, interview guidelines, video recordings, and then assessment rubrics and questionnaires. So the researcher use several instruments that are related to each other. So I can facilitate activities to obtain the data. So for the first instrument is observation sheet. So this instrument is useful for ensuring that all the things that will be done during the research have been arranged correctly. And then the researcher needs an observation sheet to determine which part have been done or have not been done, so that nothing is missed. And then the second one is the interview guide. So as previously explained, one of the collection technique that can be used in this study is interview. So the researcher wants to ensure that the questions that will be given are meaningful and in line with the research. And then the third is recording. So I need recording to contain the learning process using pop-up media. And then the last is rubric. So this instrument is useful for assessing how students look and progress. An assessment rubric is needed to assess students' speaking abilities. So this rubric consists of speaking aspect of criteria, score scale, and also description of each criterion. I think that's all about my presentation, and thank you.